Hey everyone, I'm Brett, and welcome to Nightwood Guns. Very exciting episode today. We're looking at the Smith and Wesson M&P Competitor. Now, why does Smith and Wesson call this gun the Competitor? Well, chances are they already had the name Competitor and decided to stamp it on another gun. Although now that I'm looking at it, I actually don't see the word Competitor stamped anywhere on this. The idea behind the M&P Competitor is that it is ready to go right out of the box to hop directly into competition. But what I found is that this gun actually starts to blend the line between a competition gun and a duty gun. So in this video, I'm going to go over what exactly I mean by that, along with going over all the amazing features that this comes with right out of the box. This is also one of the M&Ps that has the metal frame, so I'll be covering whether or not that's just a marketing gimmick or if there's actually an upside to that. Something I do want to give you a hint at is that this gun is almost perfect. It's like missing like 2 or 3 things that are fixed in the aftermarket. So be sure to stay tuned when I start talking about negatives, because I can show you how to turn this into what I consider to be a near perfect handgun. But first of all, do you want to see this channel disappear forever? Well, if not, be sure to stick around for these couple of announcements. So first of all, the #1 thing you can do to support the channel right now is to make sure you're subscribed, leave a comment down below, and most importantly, let the video play all the way through to the end. Those are the metrics that are used to actually boost a video and to boost a channel. So if you can do those things, doesn't cost you anything, it's absolutely free. That would be much appreciated. Today's video would not exist without my friends over at DPM Systems. Now, I actually collaborated with DPM to make a system for the M&P Competitor, and we're gonna go more in depth later, but this made a huge difference. In fact, I would even say this is the single most important upgrade for the Competitor or any metal-framed M&P out there. So a DPM system is essentially a recoil spring assembly that has progressive springs in there to make the slide movement a little less violent. The 3 springs compress and then uncompress, and not only does that make it a softer shooting experience, it also allows you to get faster follow-up shots and maintain accuracy more easily during rapid fire. That's why I really like them. And then of course there's a final benefit of it can actually improve reliability with your firearm, because it will ensure that it fully returns to battery since it has those progressive springs. This reduces the likelihood of a limp wrist malfunction if you find yourself shooting from an awkward position. I recommended DPM Systems way before they ever sponsored the channel, but if you decide to pick one up at DPM Systems website, that is a .com, be sure to enter Nightwood at checkout to let them know that I sent you and to get a little bonus. Other than that, the links in the description below are the place to be if you'd like to more directly support the channel. That's where you can find my amazing action-packed short novels on Amazon. You can get on the waitlist for any online live shooting courses I teach in the future. And of course, that's where you can find my Patreon. That is the best way you can directly support the channel. Thank you for bearing with me through the life support of the channel. With that out of the way, let's hop into the Smith and Wesson M&P Competitor, one of my new favorite pistols to play with. So first of all, the M&P is great. It has earned a track record of reliability across all of the different offerings in the M&P family. Believe it or not, M&Ps are the only other pistol other than Glocks that I will just recommend without any disclaimers. Because, you know, if someone's buying a SIG, I'm like, well, you know, I had this happen, I had that happen, trigger return spring on the P365s, rusting issues occasionally on the slides of P365s and P320s if there's a bad batch of finishes. But the M&Ps along with Glock are pretty much trouble-free. It is one of my favorite pistols. In my top 5 best pistols video, if you haven't checked that out, it's awesome. I'll put it up there somewhere. This actually came in at number 5 of all time. So the Competitor has features that I love about the M&P in general. It has that grip angle. I think it's an 18-degree grip angle. It's just has a very natural point of aim for most people. If you pick it up and you point the gun, chances are you're going to be right on target. Whereas with something like a Glock, you're probably going to have to, you know, tilt the end of the gun down, and that takes some getting used to. This has a very natural point of aim. On top of that, the bore axis is great, and there's not a lot of chunk on the slide, so you don't have a lot of reciprocating mass over your hand. This thing returns to 0 very quickly and doesn't have a very chunky or sluggish impulse. This thing runs fast. So it's very shootable and very reliable. What more could you ask for? Now, this gun is lightweight. So this is not a steel frame. This is an aluminum alloy frame. Now, normally I like heavy guns because it helps soften, dampen, tame the recoil or muzzle rise a little more. But I like how lightweight this is because it makes transitioning between targets and moving with the gun a lot quicker. It comes out of the holster quicker. This is just an easy gun to run fast out of the holster and between targets. This is one of those guns where even when you try to slow down, you still end up shooting it fast. And those are always my favorite kinds of guns. But the big selling point about the Competitor is it is just ready to go in competition right out of the box. So instead of the articulated trigger, they have their new style trigger with the little tab in there, and they have an upgraded sear. So the trigger on this thing is definitely an upgrade over a standard M&P or M&P 2.0 even. Now this also comes with a very aggressive grip texture that I absolutely love, but my wife is kind of stealing this gun from me. She shoots it all the time, and the grip texture was a little too aggressive for her sensitive little girly hands. So I put these Handle It Edge texture grips on here. Handle It has sponsored the channel in the past. Now, speaking of that, an observation that I've had is that the women in my life love this gun. I don't know what it is about it. I don't know if it's the aesthetics or if it's the ergonomics or the shootability, but they just love it. My wife and all of her friends just can't get enough of, specifically for some reason, the Competitor. In other words, what I'm saying is, it's a babe magnet. It also comes with the oversized magazine release to make mag changes nice and effortless. And speaking of effortless mag changes, the mag well that comes on this is excellent. Right out of the box, no hard edges for it to catch on. I'm a big fan of this mag well. This also comes with great sights if you decide to not run an optic on there. So it has a green fiber optic front sight and a blacked out serrated rear sight. So if you don't want to run a red dot, the sights are good to go. And if you do want to run a red dot, it is optic cut and ready for that as well. Something else very neato about this is it has a bunch of lightning cuts on there. So we've got lightning cuts on the top, on the side, and we've got the nose chopped off at a slant there to remove as much reciprocating mass as possible. It's one of the features on this that makes it very shootable. It makes it run very quickly. It has a lighter slide so that reciprocating mass isn't as heavy. Now with pistols nowadays that are all inclusive, I look for the value, and a huge part of the value with this is it comes with 4 magazines. I'm a huge fan of that. And of course, as with all M&Ps, it comes with interchangeable back straps. As far as the positives on this gun go, I don't know what else to say. I mean, the thing is just incredible. It's great. It's worth the money. Yeah, I just really like it. But as I mentioned earlier on in the video, let's hop into the negatives. As you know, this is an honest channel. We pull no punches here, and I'm not afraid to burn bridges. So the first negative is this thing came with like an Acme or like a Naked Gun hilarious enormous case. I mean, look at this. This thing's like as big as my torso. Like seriously, look at this. Like, what is Marcellus Wallace keeping in this thing? All right, so obviously I'm kind of joking about that one. The first real negative with the Competitor is actually the metal frame. It actually offers no benefits over a polymer frame. It actually, if anything, it causes problems. So this weighs about the same as the polymer frame. So since it's not steel, it's not adding weight, and that's the reason you would want to make it metal, would be to make the gun significantly heavier to dampen the recoil a little bit. But this thing weighs the same as its plastic variant. And when you have a polymer gun, the polymer actually slightly flexes and absorbs recoil. So since this doesn't have the absorption of the polymer, it's a very sharp recoil impulse. In fact, you shoot a standard polymer M&P and then go over to this, you can feel that this thing is just sharper. It kind of catches you off guard. And that's actually why I reached out to my buddies over at DPM Systems so that we could get something in the works because it needed it bad. Once I put the DPM kit in there with its progressive springs that compress, it took that sharp impulse off of the metal frame and dampened it even better than the polymer would. So now this thing runs even better than the polymer variant of the M&P. The DPM kit legitimately made all the difference with this thing. In fact, it saved the gun. Number 2 issue I have with the gun is while the trigger is a huge improvement over the articulating design, and the improved sear in here is an improvement over other M&Ps that have this updated trigger, the reset on it kind of sucks, and it really sucks for a competition gun. So here we've got the pre-travel. Doesn't bother me at all. I actually like quite a bit of pre-travel. It gives my finger some room to play. And we have a nice clean brake. Not much travel in the brake thanks to the over travel stop that they have in the trigger guard. But then when we do the reset, we have all this room right here to play with before it actually resets. Now it's not a terrible reset for most pistols, but for a pistol designed for competition, especially in the categories of competition you would use this in, you're going up against Shadow 2s and Canic Rival S's. Not only are those guns heavier and have less recoil, they also do have better triggers with incredible resets. When I was doing my top 5 pistols of all time, I was shooting Langdon Tactical Beretta, Staccato XC, CZ Shadow 2, and even a Glock with a Johnny Glock's trigger in it. And when I was shooting those guns, I was switching between all of them. Whenever I got to this one, I would get serious trigger freeze. And that's when I noticed that for a competition gun, this trigger just lags behind. I'm not saying you can't use it. If this is the only gun you're running in competition and you get used to that trigger, you can run this thing as well as anybody. It could run any other gun. But what I am saying is when you compare it to other competitors, it just kind of falls short, which is why I think another upgrade, even though they upgraded the trigger themselves, I would still toss an Apex in it. The Apex trigger specifically for M&Ps is absolutely incredible. It's my favorite aftermarket trigger. This one's probably going to get one. I just didn't want to make any kind of modification of the gun before uploading this video because YouTube does not like modifications to guns. Now this next negative is a big one, but it's a negative for all optic ready M&Ps, and that is it comes with plastic optic plates. Now I spend a lot of time at public shooting ranges. I have a large circle of friends that all shoot firearms frequently, and of course I'm an instructor. I see a lot of students. I have seen more optics pop off of plastic M&P plates than any other plate system. So it is also a mandatory upgrade to get an aftermarket metal plate. Another issue with the Competitor is, first of all, it is a performance center pistol from Smith and Wesson, but it is not immune from quality control issues. The first Competitor that we looked at had a loose front strap in the gun. There's a front strap panel right here with that aggressive grip texture, and it was loose, rattly. It was just bad. It was sliding all around. And then we looked at 3 other Competitors that the local gun shop had, and all of those were also loose. And then we finally got to this one where it was tight fit like it was supposed to be. And trust me, that rattle, it was like you shake it, it's like da-da-da-da-da-da. Not a good look from the Performance Center, but based on the Performance Center revolvers I've been seeing recently, I can't say I'm surprised. Now, although we did get a tight front strap on this one, we did end up with a bent front sight. So way to go, Performance Center. Now, speaking of the sights, this is an optic-ready pistol that does not have co-witness sights, and that is annoying, but that does seem to be the trend. This is the Walther PDP Pro SD, which is like literally suppressor ready, optic cut, and does not come with co-witness sights. I had to order those. But I actually forgive it on the Competitor because it is a competition gun. You typically don't run backup irons on a competition gun. You don't want to crowd the window. So I forgive it on this one because it's made for competition. But the other 5-inch Performance Center M&P that I had did have the co-witness sights. So I don't know, something to consider based on what you're planning to do with the gun. Now my final negative is it includes 4 magazines, which is awesome. I'm so grateful for that, especially at its price point. But it has bumpers on there, so it will seat in the mag well, but it doesn't increase magazine capacity. These are 17-round mags, just as if it had a flush fit base plate. So they put these big old bumpers on there, it's hollowed out. I honestly don't know what they were thinking other than it was probably cheaper to have a hollowed out plastic base plate on there. I don't know, it makes no sense to me. But this is at a price point of around $1,000. I've seen them on sale for $850, which is a bargain for what you get here. Now at the beginning of the video, I mentioned this blurs the line between what is a competition gun and what is a duty or defensive pistol. And what I mean by that is, as far as the direct competition for this pistol goes, they are better in almost every way. Like I said, heavier guns with better triggers. Why wouldn't you just run those? All around, this gun just kind of seems like a marketing thing. It's a duty pistol that they put some, a mag well and lightning cuts on and called it a competition pistol. They had the name Competitor already, and they were like, why not? Now, I know it sounds like I'm crapping on it, but while I wouldn't run this thing in competition over other offerings out there, I would 100% run this as a defensive pistol. This thing is awesome. This is like an ultimate duty M&P ready to rip and tear. I love this thing. It runs. Now this would very clearly fill a duty role or a home defense role incredibly well with the dot, the magwell, the weapon light, the oversized magazine release, everything about this just makes this a slayer of a pistol. But if you're like me and you carry full-size guns with X300s, you could easily run this thing in a Tier 1 concealed MSP holster. I've actually carried this concealed with confidence, and I gotta say, it's incredible. So just like every M&P out there, this is an amazing pistol. And out of all of the M&P configurations, this one with the DPM system has become my favorite. If you want a low effort, out of the box pistol that is good to go for home defense, for duty, or even for full size concealed carry, then this is the way I would go. You don't have to do anything to this out of the box other than plug a DPM system in there. Smith and Wesson has done a lot of the customization for you right out of the box, and that can end up saving you quite a bit of money in the aftermarket. Well, I hope you enjoyed my review of the Smith and Wesson M&P Competitor. I do really love the pistol. Got a lot of exciting things coming up on the channel. Got the Walther PDP Pro, got some Bull Armory goodness headed your way, and of course I finally have the Holosun 507 comp that I'm putting through its paces, so upcoming review on that. And I'm not ready to say what it is yet because I still want to put a couple hundred more rounds through it, but I think I might have a new favorite budget micro carry option. So if you're looking forward to that, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Thanks for watching the video to the end. Toss a comment down below. Let me know what you're looking forward to me reviewing, or let me know what you think of the M&P Competitor. Is it something you would get, or would you just go with a standard M&P, or like the Canik Rival S, the CZ Shadow 2, the SIG X5 Legion? I love hearing from you guys and chatting with you in the comments, so I'm looking forward to that. Beyond that, it was great seeing you again, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm Brett, and this was Nightwood Guns. Nightwood out.